Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. We are from JAC 2202A and today we will present about tax incentive for the hotel and tourism industry. Tax incentives. Malaysia offers various tax incentives to promote investment in selected sectors, for example, the tourism industry. So why do you think the government give a lot of tax incentives? Obviously, government give incentives to encourage people to do certain activity, to be involved by certain activity which is promoted by the government, because at the end of the day we will have lower tax liability to pay. There are so many tax incentives, for example, income exemption, double deduction and special deduction. All these will give a lower chargeable income. The government aims to attract foreign direct investment from abroad and to attract the local to spend their earnings traveling in Malaysia. Some hotel business and tourism industry that eligible to claim tax incentive will get to apply either pioneer status or investment tax allowance. So first, we will look into the definition of hotel business. Hotel business means the carrying on of a business in a hotel where such business involves the provision of sleeping accommodation and may include the provision of food, drinks and other services or facilities, and the granting of concession of any part of such hotel for purpose connected with and incidental to the promotion of tourism. Okay, next is hotel. Hotel means any accommodation which includes the hotel, a motel, chalet, or hostel of the approved standard and registered with the Tourist Development Corporation of Malaysia. Okay, and there will be specific incentive for hotels depending on the types of hotel. For example, 5-star hotel, 3-star hotel, motel, those with different incentive given by the government. Okay, next is tourist project. Tourist project is a project other than a hotel business exclusively carried out for purposes connected with the promotion of tourism and also registered with the Tourist Development Corporation of Malaysia. For example, it may be the integrated tourism, sports tourism, international theme park, or even holiday camp. And now with the COVID-19 pandemic, we know that foreigners cannot come to Malaysia, so most of tourism industry directly affected. There will be so many hotels doing promotion, it can even promote to half price, and the food might be half portion and limited activity that we can do at the hotel. So these tourism projects or tourism industry will get special promotion from the government because they want to encourage the local to travel. Okay, next is eligibility to get tax incentives, pioneer status or investment tax allowance. Okay, hotel business and tourism industry participating in the following promoted activities will be eligible to apply for either pioneer status or investment tax allowance. Companies can only eligible to get incentive if they are involved in these promoted activities. So the first one is establishment of medium and low cost hotels up to a 3-star hotel only. Second one is the expansion or modernization of existing hotels, which is they already have their hotels and they do the expansion or modernization. Third one is establishment of tourist projects, for example, maybe a theme park. Next is expansion or modernization of tourist project. Fifth is establishment of recreational camps. And lastly, the establishment of convention centers. Okay, next is pioneer status. Pioneer status is governed under Promotion of Investment Act 1986. Pioneer status is a tax incentive given by the government for 5 years with income tax exemption of 70% of statutory income. That 70% after deducting the current year non-pioneer loss followed by pioneer loss will be credited into an exempt income account which 2 tiers dividend can be declared, and that dividend will not be chargeable to tax. This means the company will only have to pay tax on 30% of its statutory income commencing from its production day, which is determined by the MITI, Ministry of International Trade and Industry. Besides, the company granted pioneer status that conducting tourism projects or hotel business located in Eastern Corridor of Peninsular Malaysia, Sabah, Sarawak and Labuan, they will enjoy 100% tax exemption. That amount after deducting current year non-pioneer loss and pioneer loss will be credited into exempt income account, and that dividend will not be taxed. In the event that pioneer status company makes losses during pioneer period, the unabsorbed capital allowance and losses may be carried forward to be deducted against future business income during the post-pioneer period. However, the unabsorbed capital allowance can only be carried forward up to 7 years consecutive years of assessment only. Investment tax incentives. Companies can only enjoy either one of the incentives, either pioneer status or investment tax allowance. Investment tax allowance is allowance in addition to the capital allowance on qualifying expenditure in acquiring plant and equipment by the company. A company granted the investment tax allowance will get an allowance of 60% on the qualifying capital expenditure incurred within 5 years from the date on which the first qualifying capital expenditure is incurred. Then, company can offset this allowance against 70% of statutory income for the set-off to be credited into exempt income account. A company granted the investment tax allowance also can have 100% allowance on the qualifying capital expenditure if the company conducting the tourism project in Eastern Corridor of Peninsular Malaysia, Sabah, Sarawak and Labuan. Then the companies can set off against 100% statutory income in order for the set off to be credited into exempt income account. And then any unabsorbed capital allowance can be carried forward to subsequent years until it is fully utilized. Q&A for this topic. First question is, Siti Masnah was incorporated in March 2015 to carry on a hotel business. The company is keen to expand its existing hotels. So, advise whether Siti Masnah is eligible to be granted either pioneer status or investment tax allowance, and how do they treat the unabsorbed capital allowance if there is any? So, the answer is Siti Masnah is eligible to apply for either pioneer status or investment tax allowance since the company fulfills the eligibility criteria to get tax incentive. It is because the company has already its existing hotel and now they wanted to expand hotels which it falls under the eligibility criteria. And if the company has any unabsorbed capital allowance or unutilized losses during the pioneer period, they may carry the losses forward to the post-pioneer period and deduct against the future business income. However, if the company select for pioneer status, the unabsorbed capital allowance can only be deducted up to 7 consecutive years of assessment.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Aliyah Nadirah and I will continue to present about the industrial building allowance. The company that incurred capital expenditures such as on hotel building, extension and modernization on hotel building will no longer be eligible towards the industrial building allowance. Even though the hotel is eligible on the pioneer status, and investment tax allowance, they still no longer eligible towards the industrial building allowance. So next is 4 and 5-star hotel. The definition of 4-star hotel is multiple rooms or suite options, restaurants and bar on site, business facilities, concierge services, swimming pool and gym. Meanwhile, for the 5-star hotel is all luxury accommodation with all of the above facilities and more. As we can see here, this is the example of 4 and 5-star hotel of restaurant, gym, and the swimming pool. So this is the list of pioneer status and investment tax allowance. As we can see here on the application, pioneer status is it will be given for 5 years with income tax exemption of 70% statutory income. Meanwhile, pioneer status on Sabah and Sarawak will be given an exemption of 100% of its statutory income. Then for the investment tax allowance claim is 6% of the qualifying capital expenditure occurred. Then the claim will be set off against 70% of statutory income. But in Sabah and Sarawak, the investment tax allowance claim is 100% of the capital expenditure. The claim has to be set off against 100% of statutory income. Here are the service tax exemption. Hotel operators such as hotel, inns, lodging house, service apartments and homestay will be exempted from service tax 6% starting from 1 March 2020 until 31st August 2020. As we can see here, this is the official confirmation given from Royal Malaysian Custom Department about service tax exemption. On number 1, as stated under Economic Stimulus Package 2020, there are 2 service tax exemption with regards to accommodation as follows. 1.1 Exemption from payment of service tax to any person staying or receiving any taxable services provided by the accommodation premises operator whom is registered under service tax. On 1.2, an accommodation premises operator which is registered under service tax is exempted from charging a service tax on accommodation and other related services provided under Group A. The tax exemption are given for a period of 6 months with effect from 1 March 2020 until 31st August 2020. On 3.3, provision of other services within the accommodation premises. Example 1, the rental of space provided by the accommodation operator within the accommodation premises is taxable services and is exempted from charging of tax. Next is on number 4, provision of services imperatively above provided by a person other than registered person under Group A are still subjected to service tax. As we can see on example 3, Al-Ayub restaurant is a service tax registered person who operate a restaurant at FH Hotel, providing food and beverage by Al-Ayub restaurant to FH Hotel guests are not qualified for the service tax exemption. Okay, so next is international theme park. The meaning of theme park is a large outdoor area where people pay to go to enjoy themselves. All the different activities in a theme park are usually based on a particular idea or theme. As you can see here, this is the picture of theme park that called as Disneyland. Meanwhile, this is the one most of famous activities in theme park, which is roller coaster. The international theme park will be eligible toward the pioneer status, which is 100% exemption of statutory income for 5 years. Meanwhile, for the investment tax allowance, there will be 100% on the qualifying capital expenditure incurred within 5 years and deducted against 70% of statutory income. Okay, lastly, we will continue with the question and answer. The question is on 1 August 2020, the hotel operators will be exempted or not from service tax of 6%. Please state the answer with a reasons why. Answer. Yes, because starting from 1 March 2020 until 31st August 2020, hotel operators including inns, hotels, lodging house, service apartment, homestays and any other similar establishment are exempted from service tax of 6%. Thank you.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurhidayah Nadirah Binti Muhammad Satar. My ID number is 2020808784. I want to present about group inclusive tour. Income from a business of operating group inclusive tour is exempt from income tax at statutory income level. The statutory income will be credited into exempt income account and will be used to pay the exempt dividend on a two-tier basis. But the requirement are the company must be resident in Malaysia. The company must be licensed under the Tourism Industry Act. Next, the tour must be a group inclusive one, means that it includes transportation by land, sea, or air and accommodation of tourists from outside Malaysia. And the total number of tourists must be at least 750 in the basis period for the YA. This incentive apply from YA 2018 until 2020. Okay, next, about domestic tours. What means domestic tours? Domestic tours mean tour package for travel within Malaysia utilized by local tourists inclusive of transportation by air, land or sea, and accommodation. Okay, what the requirement for domestic tours to be exempted from the statutory income? The amount exempted from the statutory income can be credited into exempt income account, of which 2 tiers exempt dividend can be paid out. First, the requirement of domestic tourists is company resident in Malaysia must have been licensed under the Tourism Industry Act. Then the carry of the tour operating business. What the tour operating business? Tour operating business has the meaning assigned to it under subsection 2, subsection 1 of the Tourism Industry Act. Next, the total number of local tourists on domestic tours relating to the company is at least 1,500% in the basis period for a YA. Lastly, the requirement for domestic tour shall be exempt is domestic tour must be certificated by a letter from Ministry of Tourism and Culture Malaysia. What the local tourist means? Local tourist means individual who are Malaysian citizen or resident in Malaysia. These all the incentive apply from YA 2018 until 2020. Okay, next I want to share the eligibility to get double deduction for overseas expenses for promotion of tourism. First, the eligibility for double deduction is every company resident in Malaysia carrying on a hotel business in a hotel register with the Tourism Development, or now known as Malaysia Tourism Promotion Board (MTPB). The next, a tour operating business register with the Tourist development. The next, the eligibility of the double deduction is the cost incurred primarily and principally for the purpose of promoting tourism to Malaysia, which are allowable under Section 33 of the Act and not prohibited by Section 39 subsection 1 of the Act. For the theory question, Golden Tour Travel Sdn Bhd is licensed under the Tourism Industry Act 1992 as a tour operating business. The management want to providing tours to foreigners wishing to visit Malaysia. Advise Golden Tour Travel of any income tax exemption available to them as a tour operating business and the requirement to qualify. Okay, for the answer is income from the business of operating group inclusive tour is exempt from income tax at statutory income level. The statutory income will be credited into exempt income account and will be used to pay exempt dividends on two-tier basis. The requirements are: first, the company must be resident in Malaysia. Second, the company must be licensed under the Tourism Industry Act 1992. The tour must be group inclusive one, meaning that it includes transportation by land, sea, or air and accommodation of tourists from outside Malaysia. And lastly, the total number of tourists must be at least 750 in the basis period for a YA. Thank you, that's all.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurhidayah Binti Hasbullah. My ID number is 2030496178. So I will continue the presentation by presenting about double deduction for overseas expenses for promotion of tourism, part 2, which is allowable costs.
So here are some allowable costs that is subject to restriction under para 4 subsection 5 of the rule, which is to provide for the Director General to disallow an amount claim, which is in his opinion is excessive. So for the first allowable cost is publicity and advertisement in any mass media outside Malaysia. Next, expenditure on publication of brochures, magazine and guidebooks, including delivery costs that are not charged to the overseas customer. Number 3, cost of market research outside Malaysia and approved by the Minister of Tourism and Culture, Malaysia, Mohd. Furthermore, the expenditure that incurred fare to any country outside Malaysia to negotiate or secure a contract for advertising or participating in trade fairs, conference or forum approved by Mohd. The expenses are subject to a maximum of 300 ringgit per day for lodging and 150 ringgit per day for food for the duration of the stay overseas. Next is expenditure in organizing trade fairs, conference or forum approved by Mohd. Second last, cost of maintaining sales office overseas for purpose of promoting tourism in Malaysia. Last but not least, for allowable cost that is restriction under para 4 subsection 5 who we can double deduct is the expenses that excluded costs incurred by the company having a place of business and subject to tax in the country where such outgoing expenses were incurred.
Now let's move on to the next topic, which is assumption. So I will discuss a few of assumption for hotel and tourism industry. So first is assumption for conference promoter. The order comes into effect from year assessment 1997 onward.
So in aspect of income tax, hotel and tourism industry can get exemption for payment of income tax in respect of statutory income derived from organizing conference held by Malaysian. The condition to get this exemption is the total number of foreign participants brought in for conference held in the basis period of year assessment is must 500 or more foreign participants. And when the company get the conference promoter, they have to keep account from income derived from the organization of such conference. The amount exempted will be available for distribution of exempt dividend for resident companies, and second-tier distribution of exempt dividend would be available if the shareholder is a company. Next, according to the same assumption for conference promoter for other entities in conjunction with Visit Malaysia Year 2020, which take effect from Year Assessment 2020 until Year Assessment 2025, income tax exemption of 100% statutory income on promoting and organizing conference is given to any other organization besides conference promoter that can bring 500 or more foreign participants annually on conference organized by them. Other than that, exemption for organizing arts, cultural, sport and recreation activity in Malaysia, tourism industry can enjoy based on 2020 budget to attract more foreign tourism in conjunction with the Visit Malaysia Year 2020 campaign. It is proposed that income tax exemption of 50% will be given on statutory income of a company that involved in organizing the following activities, which is art and culture activities approved by the Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture, and international sport and recreation competition approved by the Minister of Youth and Sport. Then the second is company that involve integrated tourism and sport tourism project can get an exemption of 70% of statutory income for 5 years. This is for the company that make application received by Malaysian Investment Development Authority from 1st January 2020.
Okay, now let's move on to the last question for this topic. So the question is stated about Cheetah Tour Stadium Berhad was established in March 2019, which is conduct tourism business. In 2020, the company is interested in organizing a conference related to the campaign Visit Malaysia 2020. Among the proposed activities to be carried out are the Sepang International Circuit and Malaysian Cup Prix. So this question requires us to advise Cheetah on what assumption will be charged to organize the program and state the need to meet the condition of the assumption. So the answer for this question is first, actually the operation of tour is purpose of the company's business. The company will be exempted from payment of tax in respect of the statutory income derived from organizing conference held in Malaysia. The exemption will apply if they meet the condition that the total number of foreign participants in conference is 500 or more in the basis period of a year of assessment. Other than that, Cheetah Tour Stadium Berhad also managed to get exemption for a promoter of car and motorcycle races. The activity must follow race of international standard, which is the activity is Sepang International Circuit and Malaysian Cup Prix must follow race of international standard. The driver of racing car or motorcycle will be exempt
from the payment of income tax in respect of the gross income earned, while Cheetah, who is the promoter of car or motorcycle races, get exempt from payment of income tax by 50% of the statutory income derived from organization of races of international standard held in Malaysia. I think that's all from us. We try our best to present this topic very well to you. By the way, thanks for watching. Bye!